Hey, Gator Nation. Welcome back to the Respect Our Decision podcast. Guys, as always, I'm your host, Hirsch, and with me, my co hosts, CJ, the man McCann,
What's up, guys?
and of course, the hype man, Wes.
What's good, Gator Nation?
Hey, Gator Nation. We got a pretty short show tonight, all things considered. Right now, we're in that kind of chill month before official visits kick up. We got a visit coming up next week we're going to talk about in a second as the Gators try to finish out their portal class for the year before we, get into the summer months. So we're going to hit on all of that here very shortly, guys, and talk about the commits that we got last week. But before we do that, guys, as always, go out there, download us wherever you get your podcast from. And if you are checking us out on YouTube and you haven't already, guys, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, man. It helps us out a ton with the growth of the channel, man. Just do us that favor, man, and leave a comment down below, guys. What is the one position group that you think the Gators need to put the most focus on for the 2025 recruiting class? Just put offensive line, wide receiver, safety, whatever your thought is that we really need to focus on and really knock it out of the park with in this next class. Leave it in the comments below, guys. And as always, guys, before we get started, man, make sure if you haven't already and you are able to, and it is something that your heart is into, go out there, support Florida Victorious, guys. Use our code DECISION. You will save 20% off your very first month with them. Lots of events being planned. A lot of events happened recently, like what happened at the spring game with the autograph session. Make sure you're a part of that. Make sure you're helping the University of Florida get the athletes that they need to, continue to try to be one of the best programs in the country in all sports. All 21 programs are funded by Florida Victorious, but you can choose where you would like your donation to be centered at. So football, if you're just into football, you can do that. That's a thing they have. So code DECISION, guys, 20% off your first month. Only if it works for you and your family and you can afford it though, guys. All right, boys. As per usual, we recorded our show last week on a Wednesday night. We wake up on Thursday. Commitments. It never fails, man. If we do a show and we speak about some stuff pops off within the next 24 hours. Maybe that's on us. Maybe we need to become more flexible with the way we do things around here. But starting last Thursday, guys, right around noonish, we got a commitment that wasn't completely unexpected. Maybe the timing of it maybe was, but former Mississippi State commitment, Jeremiah McLeod, defensive lineman out of Havana Haven, Florida. Garden City, I'm going to get it together here, guys. I promise.
It's
Gadsden County High School defensive lineman committed to the Gators. Currently ranked number 504 in the country. I know that's not moving a lot of needles, but this is a guy a lot of teams are after. I know that Florida State had reached out to him. Auburn reached out to him. Of course, Auburn reaching out to everybody. But 6'3", 280, defensive lineman right there in your backyard. I mean, we've already talked about we needed to get back to Florida in this recruiting class. Obviously, last year, a lot of out-of-state kids, not as much focus in the Sunshine State. So here you see Billy Napier and company going right in there, getting this guy into the class. They think very highly of him. Wes, start with you. I mean, always good to get more defensive linemen in the class. What's your take?
Yeah, especially like you say, the back in your backyard, you want to kind of get those guys if you feel good about them. He's one of those kids that you can get in, develop, and hopefully be if a rotational guy, somebody that you hopefully can contribute within 2 years. So I'm all for taking those type of guys, especially in the climate we live in, with guys want to play immediate. I know we're going to talk about this later, but I'm kind of okay with, especially with our D line class we brought in last year and the year before, what Napier is building on the D line. So you want guys that hopefully that you can get in and stay in the program, and you continue to develop behind the guys that you have that are elite, with the McCrays and the Kelby Collins and the TJ Cersei's and those type of guys. You want, those are your guys, those are your cornerstone guys, but they can't play 100% of the snaps. So you want guys like this that you can get in, develop, but you see some things in, some flashes that could contribute on the next level. He was committed to another SEC school. You mentioned Auburn and FSU and these other schools coming after him to be in their program. So that speaks a lot about the kid. I think he's going to rise more in the rankings than he's at now. Of course, this year's kind of start, ball has to be played, and guys move up in the rankings. We've seen it year after year after year with some guys, especially with this current staff, is their eye for talent. We can talk about on the field stuff, but the guys that they usually bring in are guys that we like. As far as the culture of being able to play, we we maybe have questions about the positions that the staff is putting them in, but as far as them being contributors and doing things on the field, whether it's through the portal or is guys that they're recruiting in, that they have an eye for talent and they can develop as well. So I'm happy that we got a recruit we took one from a SEC school. Like I said, I think he's will repeat a developmental type of piece when you have guys like McCray and Collins and Cersei that is going to be leading and spearheading the program on the defensive line for the next couple of years. So I'm okay with this, and I like it.
CJ?
No, it's a good pickup for a guy that has a lot of pretty good offers. It's another guy. I think it's the second guy in the class that you've gotten out of the Tallahassee area. Right in the Florida State backyard with Wiggins at Rickards and him at Gaston County. Um, I think it's a good pickup. I think that, again, you kind of get lost. Some of these guys on the defensive line, their production isn't always in the stat sheet. So you watch a lot of guys play in the defensive line. There are no stats for a lot of things that defensive linemen do, so you can't really tally up anything. But by all accounts, he's a great player. Like I said, I think he'll definitely rise in the rankings. Some services have him ranked higher than others, some lower, and we'll see what he does in this his senior season. Give the guys a chance. We've seen a lot of guys that were taken by this staff that seem to really take an uptick once they put pads on and start playing their last year of high school football. So I don't expect this guy to be any different. I think that they've done a good job in getting defensive line prospects in the kind of the same mold where you've got guys like Burrow and DeAndre Robinson who are, additions to the defensive line, guys that you kind of need to work with for a year or so. But you've got enough depth in front of them. You've picked up a lot of good guys in the portal to really be there to mentor and kind of be that bridge to the next, group of guys. So I think they're doing a good job. I think it's a good pickup. I said, when you look at the guys like this, you got to follow the offers, and his offers are really good. So if that's the case, obviously a lot of the other schools like what they see from him. If he could go to these other schools and play, that are in the same conversation as the University of Florida, then I think that he's definitely better than his ranking would suggest. But he's going to get a chance to prove that. We'll see what he does. I don't know how much, you know, I would say, see how he does in camps. But when you're talking about defensive linemen, offensive linemen now in camps, they kind of get lost because of the 7-on-7s that most people are doing. And you're not really seeing those really big, the trench monsters get a chance to go to camps as much. So I think that we're just gonna have to wait and see how he does on the field. Plays his high school senior year, and definitely makes some progression there. And if he doesn't, then we'll see him get processed out because we've seen it before. The staff is very good about doing that, giving a guy a chance, seeing how he does, how he progresses, if he can grow. And if he doesn't grow, they usually find a way to tell him, hey, you probably need to find somewhere else to go.
Yeah, so I agree with everything y'all said. It's always good to go ahead once again, get these Florida kids in the class. We've talked about several times on this show, the defensive line guys, especially interior guys, you never quite see them ranked really high off the rip anyway. Now, if the kid goes out, has a big senior season, of course, you'll see him get a rise there. Obviously, he's still going to go through camps this summer going into his senior year. A lot of kids get their boost there. So be interesting to see where this kid kind of averages out going into next football season. I think obviously we always say offers are a good, indication of what a kid's value is or ranking is, because if you see these top schools start to go after a kid, obviously they've all evaluated him as a guy that has a lot of room to grow and has a higher ceiling. So always good to get those kids in part of the program. Obviously he was committed to Mississippi State. He really loved what Florida was selling him enough to decommit and then commit to Florida within a couple of weeks time. So great to get him in the class. Now let's go back to 2024, because that very same day we added us a kid from the 2024 class. We've talked about him for a couple weeks now. Excuse me. Jason Zandamela, offensive lineman out of Clearwater. He was a 2024 recruit, committed to USC. He was the number 125 overall ranked prospect in the entire country, the number 4 interior offensive lineman in the entire country. Got out to California, I guess, decided he didn't like what was going on at USC, didn't like maybe being that far away from home, jumped right into the portal. Gators got into it. Obviously, UCF got the first visit. Gators got the second visit. Gators closed it out. Jason Zandamela decides he wants to be a Gator going forward. 6'3", 285 right now, interior offensive line. That's a great freshman, weight to me. There's no negatives in this take at all for me. This is a great get for Rob Sale and company. You've got to, we spend plenty of time knocking Rob Sale's recruiting. So when he gets a win, we're going to give him his flowers for that. This is a great win to add to an already really good, what looks like a really solid group of interior offensive linemen at the University of Florida. We'd like to see some higher ranked tackles in recruiting, but I really like what they've done on the interior offensive line as far as recruiting and what we've heard coming out of the spring as far as Najee Harris, Bryce Lovett, kids like that. Obviously, Jake Slaughter, a lot of people enamored with Jake Slaughter coming out of spring and think he's going to really solidify that offensive line. So, CJ, throwing it to you, man. How excited are you about this take?
Oh, this is a great get. This really helps make up for some of the gaps that you had in the recruiting cycle. Now that you've added Jameer Grimsley and Zandamela and DeAndre Robinson as 3 kids that you didn't think you were going to get, you didn't give up. You went ahead, got them. They're all 24 recruiting class kids. That kind of pushed us up into about the number 7 range in the class as far as the recruiting rankings, if you count those kids, which I am, because they're 24 recruiting class kids. So that's really good. That takes a lot of the sting out of where we thought we were going to be. It helps too when you have a decommitment of another interior offensive lineman for a 25 class kid. You've now added a 4-star, one of the top rated interior offensive linemen to kind of counteract that, and you get them now and you don't have to wait a year. So you added some really good pieces. I mean, when you really look at the offensive line, and I'm not going to say this, because it's not super high praise to compare it to what we had prior as far as John Hevesy's recruiting, but they've really added a lot of, 4-star talent offensive linemen, which is much further ahead of where we were at one point. Do they still have room to improve? Yes, absolutely, completely. I am not satisfied with the offensive line recruiting at all, but I can give it credit as they've done a much better job than the previous couple of staffs with who they're recruiting. They're bringing in higher rated kids, giving an opportunity. Guys like Westfall who've come in. These guys, have a chance to really grow and learn and be really, really good offensive linemen for this university. So great job to get a kid like that still got all his years of eligibility. You made a great sell to him. Come home, play here. We're gonna develop you. We're gonna work with you. You're gonna have every opportunity under the sun to be able to play as soon as you can. Because the staff, if you come out and you show that you can do it, I don't have any reason to believe that they wouldn't give you a chance if you could do that. If nothing else, they're going to push you. They're going to train you. They're going to have you as ready as you can. That offensive line, by no means is it everybody safe as far as their jobs, go. These guys can all lose their job. These guys are all, these spots are pretty much available. You can't say that for other schools in the country. For bad, good or bad, would I love to have 5 offensive linemen that I say, yeah, ain't nobody taking their jobs, of course. But you can at least use that as a recruiting tool and to sell these kids. Hey, listen, these spots, they're not concrete. You can come in and take this spot. At least you're able to sell that to these kids. And you're getting a guy that, again, we're talking about a really good interior offensive lineman, highly rated kid from Florida. He's a transplant, but he's from Florida, wanted to go home. His family lives there. So it's really good. I think that we've done a really good job there as a guy that all of us were kind of just like, we've had our heart broken too many times by the stuff like this. Let's sit back and let's wait. And I think, it paid off this time. I think we all were very, thoroughly surprised that this happened because you've gotten the door slammed in your face so many times. You just, you didn't know what to expect here. But good job by them getting him on campus, shutting the deal down. Good job by Hoop Shiz for calling it out on Twitter. Good job by him. That's Hirsch's burner. If you guys didn't know. No. But no, great pickup all the way around. You add another guard, to that offensive line at a position where we were really worried about depth last year. I think the depth has improved this year. I'm not saying that we've got, really, really, really great players 4 or 5 deep, but you've at least got a couple of guys that can come in and play the position as opposed to the last couple of years where if one went down, you're like, well, there goes the offensive line.
Wes, I mean, last year, offensive line recruiting was your sore spot, the spot that you, by the end of the cycle, you were about ready to oust the whole program there and scrap it and start all over. Are they winning you back a little bit with these efforts?
Yeah, Hirsch. I mean, I would have, with this kid, I would have to give them maybe a B plus, A minus. With Westfall at tackle and the guys they brought in. This is amazing. I don't want people to undermine or not hang on what you said, and it was an excellent point with Grimsley, DeAndre Robinson, and now this kid. That is wonderful. And then CJ talked about maybe up to. We had a lot of guys doing signing day that left. A couple kids went to Auburn, and don't want to talk about.
If you'd have held on to Filthamy at this point, you're still talking about a top 5 class.
Exactly. And
now I know that's a lot of ifs and buts, and I'm not trying to sidetrack things here. I'm just saying you made up a lot of the ground you lost, and you're right. It will go completely unnoticed and unappreciated by
that's why I wanted to hit on it.
A large majority of people because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Exactly, and people want to trash the program and say the program is this and that, and we will talk trash about the program if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But I don't want to say talk trash, but we would criticize where criticism is due, and that's what we do here on this podcast. We don't always pump. I'm known as the sunshine pumper, but I've been on, like you said, the offensive line like crazy, and then you take into account another guy that I felt like at a position that we needed guys at, Pup Howard. Even though he was from the 23 class, you put him at linebacker. So we got a linebacker that everybody thought we wanted in the first class and that we needed to fill that position. We got a corner, which we knew our secondary needed help on the edge. We got a offensive lineman that we feel like was a big problem in years past and current as far as the state of the program. You got to be happy with that, what the staff has done. We know how good the running backs have been as far as the recruiting there. So this staff has done a really good job of bouncing back, keeping in contact with these kids. So when things like that happen, we can get Grimsley, we can get DeAndre Robinson. I didn't even talk about how the tackle position is something that we needed. So this is phenomenal, and I love what we have to give Sale credit. This is I give him a high B plus or A minus on his staff. On his class overall now with the addition of this kid. And we always talk about competition, and You brought up the guys that we've talked about in the spring, and the two guys from a couple years ago in the 23 class, I believe, how they were coming along at center and guard, and now you add this kid into that mix. We just want to make sure that our tackles are okay. We brought in the kid from San Diego State. We have Barber coming back off his injury field last year, so. You want to feel like CJ was talking about. We don't want to be 4 deep. Nobody's going to be 4 deep. You want to be at least 2 deep, where if somebody goes down, you can plug another guy in. And with Najee Harris and Kearney and this kid and some other guys that I can't recall off the top of my head right now to bring in at that guard position, that is phenomenal. You have the kid from San Diego State. You have Barbara on the edge. You feel good about that. Right now, if you're a Florida Gator fan, or if you're a Florida Gator coach, or if you Graham Mertz, or if you're the running backs, you feel good about where the offensive line is right now, and then heading into the season, to the summer, as far as practice is concerned, to get better for the season. So right now is all about development, because you have guys now. We can't say this is like, to CJ's point about the last couple of staffs where they kind of really failed to get guys in that you can say dependable. They have guys that they can develop. We have a lot of talented guys on this roster, especially it might not we maybe feel if our first two guys go down on at tackle, right tackle and left tackle, we might be a little bit scared. But as far as the inside, they should be able to run the ball, and I'm hopeful that they can get that done this year. That they should be able to block inside our right and left guard and center. We should be okay, because we loved what the center did coming in last year, filling in for Kingsley. I mean, it's not King, yeah, Kingsley, yeah.
Yeah. This just goes back to a point we've talked about since day one with the show is the staff doesn't give up on these kids. You miss on somebody, they keep a good line of contact open. I don't know if that's when the kid calls the staff and says, Coach, I've decided, say we're talking about Grimsley, Coach, I've decided I'm going to Alabama. Best of luck to you. We hope, if you ever change your mind, though, we're here, blah, 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 however the conversation plays out. And you just continue to see examples of that. Sure, yes, you would love to get them the first go around. I get the sentiment about that, where it's like, well, if you were doing your job correctly, you wouldn't have to worry about that. You would get them the first time out. Well, man, this is a whole different ball game right now. And Billy Napier needs to win some football games. That once again, it goes back to that. Win some football games, show that you're going in the right direction. And a lot of these battles that were close, Wes said it last year, and it was widely said all over the place in the cases of Grimsley. If you'd have won those two games that you shouldn't have lost, you probably got Grimsley to begin with, and maybe kept a couple of those other guys. So this year you can't have those hiccups, or it all falls apart on you. You're doing the same thing over again, But that's the progression of that. That's a conversation for another day. Props to the staff for continuously staying on these kids, keeping things positive, not burning bridges one way or the other. And the 24 class now, really, in hindsight, looks really, really good. Now you've got to keep it together and build off of it. So that takes us to one more guy that we're going to talk about real quick before we're about to wrap this whole portal thing up, it looks like. But there's one guy, one piece left, and that takes us to the curious case of Elijah Badger. We've talked about Elijah Badger the last couple of weeks as a potential wide receiver that the Gators could add to the room. They're obviously looking to add one. They were possibly looking to add two pieces. Right now, they'd have to lose a scholarship. There's a couple of different options that might happen there to lose that scholarship. I'm not going to dive into those. It'll play itself out. It always does. But anyway, so Elijah Badger, it came out right after we did our show last week that it looked like maybe Florida would not be involved. God almighty, if I could speak tonight. Boy, I must be tired. Involved with Elijah Badger because he had a back issue. And somewhere out there, whether it be on his trip to Washington or whatever, he had failed a physical due to his back. Now, we all know how internet, gossip, rumors spread, and they spread like wildfire. And from then it was, Florida's not going to, Florida's just not even going to take the chance. His back is a mess. It's not happening. yada, yada, yada. And it might have been 4 or 5 hours later. Then you start hearing, well, Elijah Badger is talked to the coaches and he definitely will visit Florida. Okay. And then it came out a couple of days after that the date is set. He will be arriving in Gainesville as of now, May 14th. That's next Tuesday, to start an official visit. This is a guy that we talked about. He played with Ricky Pearsall for a couple of seasons. He's been at Arizona State for about 4 seasons now. He's a veteran wide receiver. He's put up good numbers. Obviously, we don't know the medicals. We don't know what the back truly looks like. We just hear the rumors on social media and websites like everyone else does. But obviously, the coaches feel like there is enough there to commit to bringing him in on a visit and have our doctors look him over, give him a physical, and see where it goes from there. And I have to say, personally, I would trust the doctors at the University of Florida at making this decision over doctors anywhere. I think we can pretty much all agree on that if he comes to Florida and the doctors at the University of Florida look him over and say, nah, this kid ain't going to make it, well, then you know what you got. I mean, hey, it is what it is. But at least kudos to the coaches. Get him in town. Let our doctors look him over. I know Ricky's already pumped us up to the kid and said, look, come play with, Billy Gonzalez. I almost said come play for the Joker. But no, we're not doing that. No, all serious. Come play. Look what Billy Gonzalez in Florida did for me. And we can hate on Billy Gonzalez's recruiting all day. That is what it is. But the man develops wide receivers. It's proven. So how ironic, though, would it be to have Graham Mertz, the former Wisconsin Badger, throwing passes to Elijah Badger? Sure, no one's going to have fun with that one if it comes to pass. So, real quick, guys, CJ? I know you read into all this. You gave me opinions on it. What are your takes on all of this?
I know. I mean, honestly, if he does come to Florida and he passes a physical here, he should pass physical anywhere. Because if there's something really, really wrong with this kid, then UF Health is not going to let the kid play. I think you just have to try. Because if he is healthy, you've added another veteran receiver to the room to go with Chimere DK. And then I think too, if you could say that, then we really could be very excited about what we've done in the portal. I think we've done a very good job up to now, but if you added another wide receiver to it, they pretty much addressed everything with really good, people, as good as you can get from the portal, to really address a lot of our issues. I think that if he is ready to go, then you definitely need to take him because we could use him in the room. We really need, another wide receiver. At least that's the overwhelming thought. Because there is so many unknowns that you have to deal with Mizell and Andy Jean. Those are two really good players that you brought in out of a recruiting class, but so far, they haven't done anything in college to prove themselves. Not to say that they won't or they can't. I'm just saying it hasn't happened yet. So you can't bank on them becoming all-star receivers because you haven't seen it yet. It would be the same thing if Eugene Wilson wasn't that way. If we hadn't seen Trey play like he did last year, and we were coming in and he's like, okay, this is our other freshman receiver that we got that was really highly touted, then you would be saying the same thing. Just guys that have a lot of potential, loads of potential in the room, but you need some proven veteran presences in the room because now you've got Khalil Jackson, you've got Chimere DK, you've got Burke, and you've got, Trey, who's here's your wide receiver one. But outside of Trey, you're not really looking at many game breakers. So you need another solid hand in the room to make sure that Graham Mertz is able to stand and throw and make plays because he's not a guy that's going to, Graham is still going to be the starting quarterback. And Graham is great, but Graham isn't, a kind of guy that, watch like Jay Daniels who could take the game over with his legs. That's just not going to happen. So he needs solid options to throw the football to. So if this guy is good to go, if Elijah Badger is good to go, and he checks out, and he wants to come to Florida, you take him, figure it out later. It would just benefit us as a whole. Um, I think that they could definitely, pull it off because I mean, the kid went to Arizona State. His other option is Arizona. I think Washington really doesn't want him anymore. Um,
And
you
and
know,
ironically enough, Wisconsin wants to try to get him in for a visit too.
right. Well, I mean, Badger the Badger. That's what they want. But no, I think that Florida stands a very good chance if they can get him here and he checks out. I think Florida could firmly put themselves in the lead pretty handedly, and get that closed out if he's physically able to be here.
Wes, what's your take?
Yeah, Arizona State, give them some credit. They've produced kind of
They've had some
decent
talent on
guys.
that campus.
Yeah,
Herm Edwards was had talent.
yeah, that's all I was. That's what I was getting at. Like Brandon Ayuk played with Ricky, and that's two
Jaden
first round,
Daniels.
and Jaden Daniels. That's two first round wide receivers right there. So, and if Ricky is given,
and and that
hit,
Florida
yeah,
State cat that didn't get
yeah.
drafted very high.
Yeah.
So, I'm hoping that we can get this kid on. And CJ kind of did an 8 mile on me because I was gonna say the stuff that he was saying in reverse. But as far as the producing of of these kids, y'all know I'm not like all there with, hey, we really need receivers, because sometimes I feel like opportunity. If a cat has opportunity, he may be able to produce. We nobody, we came in the last year like, man, it's just Ricky. Who's gonna produce outside of Ricky? And then you had Eugene step up or Trey step up. So you look at that, and I'm a big fan of Mizell. I think that he can be that other guy as well, as far as a speed guy that can cause problems and stretch the defense and maybe get our tight end something over the middle with his ability to run and create space. And I'm big on Jackson, his hands. I've continued to say that until proven otherwise. I just need him merged to maybe have better rapport. But he has, to me, the best hands on the team when it comes to balls down the field. I just want Mertz to trust him more, to give him more opportunities to put the ball where he has the opportunity to make those catches. Because when it's there, he does a fabulous job of bringing the ball down 9 times out of 10. So I'm there, but I do get you guys. I'm not saying that we're excellent, but I get you guys sentiments about the depth. If one of those guys were to go down west, how do you feel then if Jackson goes down? How do you feel then if Mizell goes down, pulls a hammy or something? So I get that. So I would like the depth, the added receivers for that purpose. And I just want to see maybe the best guy win. Maybe Mizell win. Maybe Andy Jean comes back and he's healthy, and we get to see what we thought was the best receiver in the class last year as far as route running. Like, we thought he was like, as far as NFL terms, he can play day one. Like, he can come in as a second round pick and he can start day one. Or he's a true freshman. He can contribute day one. So we thought that about Andy Jean, and that it was Trey that kind of did it, and he did it without any spring reps at all. He came in during the summer. I think people forget about that. Trey didn't come in spring. Trey came in during the summer and he stepped on the field and looked like he was already built for it. So we have some guys there. It's just about opportunity. Some guys got to stay healthy. Some guys had to add weight, like Mizell. Some guys need to build better rapport with the quarterback. As far as Jackson, in my opinion, we have DK that has that rapport maybe with Graham Mertz. So that's four guys right there that I feel confident about. But I wouldn't mind adding Badger in to add depth just in case another guy goes down. Because I don't. After that, we have some really true freshmen. I believe the kid from IMG that everybody is crazy about. We see him contribute early on special teams, maybe to give that a spark, because it needs a spark, as we all know. As far as speed, maybe he can take some of those speed option plays that Trey runs, so we don't get Trey hurt running that type of stuff all the time. Maybe we can come in and do reverse and all that stuff. So we have some guys that have different attributes on the field, that we have a lot of different guys that can do a lot of different things. Jackson is a guy that can possession receiver type to me with hands. Trey is just Mr. Spectacular. Mizell is a speedster. Andy Jean, we talked about route running type guys. So, and DK is a possession type receiver in my opinion as well. So we have a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things, but the added depth is never a bad thing. So I'm with you guys on adding the depth just in case, because injuries will happen and it's inevitable. It's football, is going to happen. So I'm with you guys there.
My whole take on getting this young man is, this is your last go with Graham Mertz. You know what the schedule is. Surround him with as much proven talent as you can and you also know if you're Billy Napier, you know what's on the line this season. If you go out there and lay an egg, you everything you've built is for nothing because you're gone, and there's a very good chance that a lot of these recruits you've brought here are gone. So you want to give this team every advantage it can have to be successful. And I think the last piece of that truly is adding one more proven receiver that has gone out, put up yards, scored touchdowns, with obviously a quarterback with as many years of experience as Graham has. You get him out there. You've got Trey as the guy that can do anything that people have to focus on. But now you get a guy like Badger, who's put up great yards and put up some touchdowns, and defenses have to be aware of him. They have to account for him when he's on the field. So it's that much more pressure off of Trey. It's that much more pressure off of DK. It's that more pressure off of Boardingham at the tight end position, or whoever may be out on the field at that time. So I see this as Billy Napier and the staff trying to go out there and get that one more piece that takes a little bit more pressure off of Graham Mertz and the offense, and gives the defense one more person they really have to account for. Because I don't think any team right now is looking at Florida's depth chart and going, they're Miami for week 1, they're looking, oh, Trey Wilson, man, we really got we got to know where he is at all times. All right, after that, Khalil Jackson. DK, well, he was at Wisconsin 2 years ago. But if you look at Badger and you're saying, well, he's done some things, we might want to watch that guy with a proven quarterback because he hadn't had that. So just my thoughts. And I don't think anybody would be upset by adding proven talent to the wide receiver position at this time, because you still, like we said, we don't know what we have in that room as far as the young guys go. Andy Jean might come out of summer and be healthy as can be and just finally put it all together. A lot of people have said Marcus Burke has finally put it together, mentally, physically, all of that he's matured and he's ready to go. I've heard this story before. So until I see him do it on the field, I want to see him go out there and have 5-6 catches and 80 to 100 yards. And then I might start saying, man, he might finally be that guy we were excited for 3 years ago, because it's been that long. So, that's a guy that has the talent that's on the roster. He just has never put it together. So a lot of question marks. So go get a guy that's maybe not as much a question mark. That's what you need to do in this scenario. All right, guys. Before we get out of here tonight, we're going to go around. We want to talk about, since we're going to start breaking down the official visits as they start taking place the last weekend of May and all through June. And man, there's going to be a ton of official visits in the month of June to go over. Lots of kids setting up official visits. And even before we came on the air, On 3 reported that DJ Pickett is saying now he would like to set up an official visit to Florida in the month of June, hopefully, and come in and see what Will Harris has got going on now. He's, obviously we're a little bit behind the 8 ball now. We were in a good spot. Then we lost the games at the end of the season, and Oregon and a bunch of other teams have kind of really, Michigan, Oregon have really picked up the pace on the young man. But that's a kid we've talked about a lot, that if you can get him on campus, sell him the vision, win some football games, that's a rabbit you would really like to pull out of the hat. But what we're going to do real quick before we get out of here, guys, is we want to talk about what position group we feel like the Gators really need to hit a home run with, or at least, get some able bodies, some really good recruits in at this cycle that's going to be needed for the future. So CJ, I'm not CJ, Wes, I'm going to start with you. What position group do you think Billy Napier and company have to hit a home run on in 2025?
With Hirsch fans of the podcast, I'm sorry to feel redundant, but we need some tackles. We need some. Got to keep recruiting the offensive line for DJ in the future. If that's going to be our dude, we need to continue to put in to get in offensive tackles. Like I said, I love the interior line. As far as the guys that they brought in, I don't know how those guys are going to develop in the future, but I love the start of what they've started there. So I need some tackles to come in to help, and receiver. We need some big body receivers. We kind of got some speed guys the last couple cycles that to come in. We don't know. We just talked about that, and it's kind of crazy that we segue into that, but I feel like we need some receivers. Defensively, I feel like the staff has done a good job defensively. We need maybe some more guys on the inside as far as the line. Can't never have a lot of those defensive linemen, so I think that's a good place as well. So tackles, receiver, and I feel good with the secondary and the linebackers. So I'm good there. Linebackers, I'm good. Secondary, I'm
one
good.
Position, Wes. One
My
position.
bad. Tackles, then. If I'm gonna go with one position, I'm just gonna be tackles. We need tackles. Can't have that. That's the most important position, especially in the SEC. When you're playing the SEC, I'll stick with tackles. Tackles is the position that we're gonna need, especially with the future. I love Westfall. Hopefully, he can develop into a dude to demand the left side for the future. But we need depth and we need a right tackle for the future as well. So left tackle and right tackle.
CJ,
cornerbacks. We need some cornerbacks.
you took my damn.
We loaded up on some safeties. Damn it, we needed safeties, and we went and got like 6 of them. We need some cornerbacks, some actual cornerbacks, because without them, we're gonna be in a mess. The depth chart is not very favorable right now. You've got maybe 1 or 2 young guys in there. You need about 4 or 5 good corners. So you're going to have to look in the portal for some guys again next year, but they need to get some really good cornerbacks in this class, some guys that know how to ball. We're going Florida heavy. There's plenty of cornerbacks in Florida. It seems like DB is just growing trees in that state. So, we really need to go after those guys. Will Harris needs to do a good job of getting those guys in here because without them, we're going to be in real bad shape. Especially with, your most experienced guy, love him or hate him, Jason Marshall. This is it for him. This is a swan song. We're not going to have him anymore. You still worry about what Devin Moore is going to do. His health, when he's healthy, he's a great player, but you need more guys behind him. You've got Grimsley, Sharif Denson, Dijon Johnson.
Jakeem.
You got those. Yeah, Jakeem, you've got those guys, but you need a few more. You need 1 or 2 more to come in and fill in that depth and maybe get some guys, a little more experience out of the portal. But I think cornerbacks need to be a main focus of this recruiting class.
Yeah, that was going to be my primary pick right there. I agree with you 100%. You've got to go out there and get you at least one really, really good corner. So that's going to take me right back to where I was a minute ago and talk about wide receiver. There's a lot of good wide receivers in the state of Florida this year. And at some point, I'm not going to say we've landed bad wide receivers. We haven't. But, man, it feels like we've been in the race for some really good, 5-star caliber wide receivers here. And, yes, I do know to the one guy in the comments that says Trey Wilson was a 5-star on 3 2 years ago. Yes, I understand that. But I'm saying, what's it called? Combined. It was, that. Yeah. Anyway.
The composite.
Composite. My God, I lost my mind. Man, it's not a good night for me.
The compilation.
My yeah. My age is really creeping up on me tonight. Yeah, it's just I understand that he was a 5-star on 3, but compositely, there's last year, if whether it be Jeremiah Smith, and I know we went around and round on that circus, and a lot of other guys, but this has got to be a year, and I hate putting this much pressure on Billy Gonzalez in recruiting because God knows I've been disappointed. But man, I mean, Billy Napier, you're a head coach. You used to be a wide receiver coach. At some point, take it over if you got to, man. Do what you got to do to get us a 5-star wide receiver in here. You've got what is arguably the most exciting young quarterback in the entire country on your roster. Find a way to sell him to a wide receiver. Find a way to sell to a wide receiver. Look, Trey's got one more year here probably after this season. You come in, this is your team as a wide receiver with DJ Lagway. I mean, you've got to do it. And we've talked over and over again about, if you're not going to get a big-time quarterback this year, you've got to divert those NIL funds to other positions. So do you get a 5-star cornerback? Do you get a 5-star receiver? Do you get a 5-star tackle? You need to get at least one of those. And then you need to get some top 100 at the other two spots. You're not obviously going to spend that money on that quarterback this year. I mean, it's looking more and more like you're going to go after the Keon Russell or the Trammell Jones or somebody like that, or maybe even somebody below those guys. So you've got to go out there with those NIL dollars that aren't being spent on a big-time quarterback and get some of these other positions and get big-time players at those positions and build the roster, like we talked about before. If you're going to go every other year on the quarterback, get those other positions in those years in between. And I need a receiver that's top 50 quality at minimum. So please, Billy Gonzalez, Billy Napier, one of you two Billies, make it happen, guys. We'd love it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode, man. Like we said, not a whole lot going on right now. The visits are about to start up here in about 3 weeks. And then June, of course, like every year, it's going to be nonstop recruiting June and July like we do every year. It's fun. It's hectic. I'm sure it'll be exciting. I'm sure people will be jumping off the ledge about after the first weekend in June like we do every year. And then we'll all come back somewhere around the end of June to, oh, man, they're really getting it done. So I just, like we said, like we've been saying, though, man, it's all about winning ball games this year. We're not getting too high or too low on recruiting until we see the product on the field, because ultimately that's what's gonna make the most difference in this recruiting cycle. CJ, what do you got for the good people before we get out of here?
Just thank you guys so much for supporting us as creators. We really appreciate it. Check out the Facebook, check out the Twitter. Keep doing what you're doing here on YouTube. Check out the podcast and all the podcast forums. Whatever your favorite is, you can pick it up over there. So just thank you. Check out the chat on Facebook. Have some conversation in there. Of course, football season gets closer and as recruiting gets ramped up, there'll be more conversation in there about different things. Just got to get to that point in the year. Check out our friends at Alma Mater. Use our link. They got a whole bunch of stuff over there, NIL related, all that kind of T-shirts and jerseys and hats and things. So check out that kind of stuff. We got Father's Day. It's going to be right around the corner. So get your dad something nice. You got a month to figure it out. So good luck to you.
Should have already got one for your mom.
That's right. Your mom might want some Gator stuff. Maybe she wants a Jack Caglione T-shirt. So check out that. Use our code decision with Florida Victorious. Get 20% off your first month. Those guys are doing great stuff over there. Support what athletes you want to support. Help fund some of these awesome receivers and cornerbacks and left tackles that we keep asking for. If you give to the Florida Victorious, that'll help out with that. Maybe that'll go a long way if you can afford it. Of course, we're not running a telethon. I'm not Jimmy Stewart. Whoever, just figure it out. I don't know why I said Jimmy Stewart. Jimmy Stewart's not there to tell us off. Jimmy Stewart. Oh yeah, you wanna? I'll go up there. You want the moon? I'll lasso it. Bring it down for you. No, not Jimmy Stewart.
Merry Christmas, movie house. Oh shit.
This is Pottersville. No, but thank you guys so much for supporting us. We really appreciate
We're off the wheel. We're off the rails.
I'm fine. It's been a week, man. I got a 3-month-old baby. You guys gotta give me a break.
I have nothing to add to that. All I'm gonna say is go Gators.
Yeah, go Gators.
Go Gators, baby. We'll catch y'all next week.